This is not a we versus them video. Get rid of your worldly mindset, or this video will be a waste of time. You must think outside money and carnal positions for you to even begin to understand the meaning of this video. My first message to humanity is you are not your net worth. The whole concept of net worth is very, very childish. And Luke 12, verse 15, Jesus said that the life of a man does not constitute in the abundance of the things he possesses. Your worth can never be in anything physical or in any bank account. The corporate world, like many other things, are an artificial construct defined in the Bible as this world, quote unquote, as opposed to the world intended by God. This world of man runs on money, and its God is Satan, and anyone who is deeply invested in that world cannot see God because the two are astronomically opposed to each other. One serves the purposes of Satan, and the other the purpose of God. God gave man this realm that we find ourselves, and gave the woman to man as a helper. We see that in the book of Genesis. Now, any woman who has a problem with what I just said, she will understand that that is a reaction from some deep hurt somewhere along the line from childhood till now. If you reacted negatively to my reference as a woman being the helper of men, this is because you have never known real love from a man who walks in the will of God. You must get healing for your soul. Most men were raised to succeed in the rat race and be successful in it. In other words, we go to school and learn all sorts of skills to survive this rat race. But a survivor must never be defined in terms of worldly success. In other words, surviving what we call the rat race can never define success. There is much more than this carnal world. If we must see our true purposes, we must look beyond survival of the fittest. The disillusioned man will have problems until he finds his true identity, and his true identity is in his purpose, not his job description or role in an office. You must know why you are here. Unfortunately, philosophy is a dying field of our existence. We must ponder why we are here and answer that crucial question, or else we will attempt to redefine ourselves with all sorts of vain and meaningless ventures. Being a man is not necessarily in the muscle, it's in the purpose, and those who know this early will always be fulfilled. We speak about equality when it comes to money-based roles and the splitting of tasks, especially in the home. But I can guarantee you now that no woman wants a man who screams in fear with her in the face of danger. Now, if this is the case, then we have to admit that women still need men. A lot of them are just victims of propaganda, and I can tell you, there are wicked men and women on this planet who have a lot of money to pour into all sorts of negative propaganda against the human race. Do not be distracted by things that are of no value when measured in time. And my reference to time is eternity. Anything that will not survive eternity is not of value eventually. But what exactly is the mission, you may ask? Jesus taught us in the Lord's Prayer, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." This, brothers and sisters, is the simple mission and purpose that we have on this planet, to bring about the will and purpose of God onto this earth. And wherever you see men and women and children who have submitted to the will of God, we see bits and pieces of this reality. You must renew your mind, because everything you have learnt from childhood has been to prepare you for this physical world. And this physical world is run, unfortunately, on money. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Be ye transformed and renew your mind, that you may prove that which is the perfect and acceptable will of God. You must be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Whatever you have learnt, put it aside when it comes to God and His purposes. You must learn from God. Satan wants that throne, the throne that God gave to man from inception in the Garden of Eden was occupied by Satan until Christ came and took that authority. Now, whoever you blame for your troubles are just mere tools of Satan to cause stress and headaches and all sorts of distractions, because Satan knows that a man overwhelmed with troubles and stress will hardly have time to focus on the real battle. And the real thief of humanity is Satan. He is the one right at the center of a lot of evil that we see today. Like I said before, Christ has won that authority back for humanity, but you must have the Spirit of God to walk with any power recognized by Satan. We cannot match Satan's wit just based off of what we call street smartness, all sorts of craftiness and things we think are important, but to Satan they are just rubbish. The book of Acts, chapter 19, verse 15, a demon was speaking to some people who wanted to cast them out using the name of Jesus because they saw Paul do the same. And demons listened to Paul, but when it came to these men who had nothing to do with the Spirit of God, the demons asked them, Jesus, I know, and Paul, I know, but who are you? Identity matters in the Spirit. And these demons, they understand that Jesus is the highest authority in this realm, and they bow to him. And every man or woman who has that Spirit of God has authority. Now, this is no magic. This is reality. And this is an act of mercy that God has given us. That we have a name called the name of Jesus, by which we have authority over the wicked principalities and powers. And no wonder Satan, in his craftiness, has created many distractions and temptations to ensure that you never ever connect to God, because he knows the moment you find your place, you will see beyond his deceptions and trickery. You will realize that the woman is not your enemy, and no race is your enemy. You will see who that enemy is. In other words, the veil will be lifted and you will see the other side. Crucifixion of Christ. The only way to put the flesh out of the equation is the crucifixion on the cross. We've said this again and again. Your flesh must die. Your flesh must be put in its right place. The driver of a car is more important than the car. Because if your flesh is right in charge, then every temptation of Satan will overwhelm you and will bring you instant destruction. So Jesus showed us that way, and the way is the crucifixion of the flesh. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Jesus said, spirit is for spirit, flesh is for flesh. Do not confuse the two. We have men who are very, very successful in the corporate world, but when it comes to the wisdom and things of the spirit, they are so vulnerable because they fail to give priority to the things of the Spirit and to God. I will say it again that Jesus won us that victory. Jesus knew his purpose from childhood, and it had nothing to do with any job or money or fame. Now we fail our children miserably because we do not prepare them for the spiritual battles they will face on this planet. We take them to places like Disney World and all the sorts of adventure parks, and there is nothing wrong with this, but you must from childhood prepare your male child to be a man and to know his place in his community and society. You have to teach him first and foremost to know and learn the fear of God and to live responsibly and disciplined and not be carried away by all sorts of peer pressure, which are just tools of Satan to bring people down before they realize their potential. And how many young men have been destroyed before they even had the chance to grow up and know who they are. Dear women of today, men are your allies in this fight. Men are not your enemies. Do not buy to the propaganda. Stop poisoning your home. A home should be a place of peace and tranquility, a place where a man will feel his breast, because when a man feels his breast, he can best focus on the battles that he needs to fight. A distracted soldier can never win a war. You don't need too much in this life. Stop stressing your man with all sorts of mundane needs just because your friend has a nice car or expensive jewelry does not mean you need to get those things. Now, if your cycle of friends values things that are not valuable before God, then it is time to change that cycle. And if you spend your time in gossip and all sorts of vain quests and activities, then it is time for you to find a different group. And as for the men, it is time to rise up and take your place. Stop wallowing in self-pity and blaming everyone and anyone for your predicaments. Rise up and do away with your alcoholism and womanizing and gambling and laziness. It is time to know who you are and take that God-given role so that every other aspects of life can come into equilibrium, because we are failing and the ignorant women are aiding and enabling Satan to facilitate that failure. But the two shall be one, and it is time for us to understand the mysteries of what is happening. Because when the man falls, every other thing is easy to destroy. And we see that that destruction is already happening. What is happening to your children, your teenagers, is not a joke. We can see it happening. Now, I know some people like to be positive in their thinking, but positive thinking does not mean you must deny reality. Positive thinking is in the fact that you wish the best despite what is happening currently. Now, in the spirit world, money is very, very irrelevant. Faith is the currency of the spirit world. Whatever money gets you in this life, faith gets you in the real world. Put your faith in God. And I hope and pray that from now on you will put away childish things and walk your divine path, which must be found in selflessness and self sacrifice, because that is who we are as men. We sacrifice ourselves that others may live.